Thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of I'll Allow It Nevada, your go-to podcast for swift access to Nevada judicial education. I'm Anne-Marie Mayu, your host, representing the Supreme Court of Nevada Administrative Office of the Court's Judicial Education Unit. And in this episode, we are going to get some tips on how to implement the National Center for State Courts Institute for Court Management, or ICM, into your daily tasks for our courts, and why that's important. Joining us is my admired colleague and reputable guest, retired Sparks Justice Court Administrator and currently Clerk Liaison for the Administrative Office of the Courts, Pete Whitehead. Welcome to the show, Pete.
Wow, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is a new adventure for me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So before we get started, we do have an announcement, and I'm going to ask Pete to kind of help me out with it. We have a couple of in-person national ICM courses scheduled for 2024 that we're very excited about. And just wondering if, Pete, if you can share some more information about those courses.
Yes. So the AOC has partnered with bringing national courses to the Nevada area. And with that national court, there will be guests from other states participating and really opening the eyes for those participants to understand that we all do what we do within the courts. We may do it different, but our struggles are the same.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I believe we have one scheduled for budget and fiscal management coming up, right?
Yeah, that will be in March, and we'll be hosting it down in Las Vegas.
All right. All right. And I have it on my notes here that it's the 12th through the 14th. Deadline for registration is February 9th. And then we have a workforce management course that we have scheduled in September, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that in the same place too?
Yes, that will also be in Las Vegas and at the new training facility.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to put all that information up on the description so you all have it. It is important if you're interested in attending any of those courses. And I will do a shout out to our Nevada judges. Please attend. You are more than welcome. Our registration link will be put up on our description as well so that you have an opportunity to look that over. So, you know, the National Center for State Courts Institute for Court Management has 3 certifications, right? And so there is CCM, which is Court Certified Management, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then CCA, which is Court Certified Executive.
Yes.
And then the third one is what?
The ICM Fellowship.
ICM Fellowship. Okay. Okay. So when we start talking about, the different abbreviations, just so everyone is aware, that's what we're talking about. So let's just get started. You know, we're gonna go ahead and pick Pete's brain today. She was in our court serving for 31 years. And for many of those years, she served as the court administrator for the Sparks Justice Court. So what I want to know from you initially, Pete, is what were your biggest takeaways from the ICM courses?
So it's been many years, but I've gone through, I started back in 2005 with the original.
Awesome.
Yeah, showing my age here, huh?
That's awesome.
On this recording. I started with the first foundation, which was the CCM. And I would have to say the value of the tools that a participant will learn. I mean, it is so vast. As a court leader, we deal with challenges in our administration of the courts. I was able to bring my own court experiences to each one of the classes that were offered and also take away values and tools. And it gave me a better understanding and insight, and also start to look into the future of the opportunities to assist the court in our role and responsibilities within the court. Curriculum developed by the Institute of Court Management provided me with an inspiration to continue in my educational journey and complete the Fellows Program. And it was a long 3-year period.
Oh, so you did that in 3 years. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Thank you. It was an honor to be able to be in that first AOC-sponsored development of the CCM. Educational, that they reached out to the court admin and their future management teams for the development of the roles in management for the courts.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I have kind of an off-the-cuff question for you. You were in our court system serving our courts for so long. Why? Like, what, you must have found value in that. And first of all, what position did you start in? And then why did you decide to stay? 31 years is a long career.
It didn't come without challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
and definitely change, right?
Sure.
We're just always evolving. But I started out as a file clerk.
Oh my gosh.
And I would say I was one of for those who have been here, the original Sparks Justice Court started out on B Street in Sparks. Okay. And I think I was the last one to retire that was a part of that support team at the court. And I started out as a file clerk, and it was just developing my education in the third branch of government as the courts.
Right.
And just continually learning. I am a lifelong learner. And still today, that is a part of who I am. I continue to grow and learn.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I like that. I am a lifelong learner. I need to remember to use that because I feel like I am the same way. So back to the ICM courses. Do you have a favorite one that you took and why?
Well, I don't think I just have one for what they offer. I would have to say I have a top 3. And maybe my first one, close to my heart and my passion, is the purpose and responsibilities of the courts. Within that, I was able to understand the role of the third branch of government as a court and also how different courts in our country are structured.
Right. Yeah, that is a good one. I mean, I agree with you. I haven't taken all of the ICM course for the CCM yet, and I'm kind of toggling back and forth, but every time I take a new course, it's like, oh, that's my new favorite one.
Yes. Yeah. And then I would have to go with case flow and workflow management. For this course, it gave me an eye-opener to the general understanding for the size and age of our court's pending caseload.
Okay.
If you were to say that to me in a sentence,
right,
as a file clerk, I'd be like, okay, well, I just filed these cases away. And what does that have to do with what I was supposed to do, right?
Right.
It doesn't really explain the functionality when you're just doing your daily routine.
Right.
But adding value to what you do, right? Yeah. And then the tools to assess effectiveness of case flow management and the challenges to influence change in case management review.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it's important for us to evaluate the way we do things, and is it effective, or is it time to re-engineer how your infrastructure is set up in your case management workflow?
Okay.
Again, showing my age, this is the way we've always done it.
Oh, well, ouch. Yeah, don't say that. That's dangerous.
You know what? There are so many things out there and tools for you to really take a deep dive into how you do things. And hey, maybe you can cut out 2 or 3 steps and still get to the same result.
Right. Absolutely. And I agree with you. I think that things are changing so fast nowadays. Not just technology, but everything. And it's important to really stay on top of all that, especially in our courts. I know when I'm in these courses, a lot of them I take virtually and we'll get into breakouts. And I always come away from those breakouts learning something so valuable from other courts around the United States.
Yeah.
And just a different way that they are, managing their case flow. And it gives you, it's food for thought, right? You stop and you think, well, how can we implement this? Would this be good?
Yeah. Or you could take what somebody has shared with you within that networking, and you could say, oh, I can take that piece, and that will work for us, and we're going to go and succeed.
Right. Yeah,
and then I would have to say my final one is leadership. And that's both personal and organizational leadership, and what it takes to exercise leadership as an individual, as a team, and as an organization as a whole.
Okay. And I haven't taken that one yet. I'm excited to take that one because I've heard it is really good.
Right.
It's so valuable to get out there and get new ideas. And this is a great avenue to do it in.
Absolutely. The networking that you will build and the relationships there, I mean, they've lasted me for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't say a lifetime, but at least through my, and I'm retired from Sparks Justice Court, but I'm still have a passion for what the courts do and representing the AOC, and it will forever be a part of how you roll with the courts and you manage and you have relationships with your inside and outside stakeholders, and they're all building blocks.
Right.
And that's how the courses have been developed, that they are building blocks to help you succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just that basic structure. Okay. So let's get back to the in-person budget and fiscal management national ICM course that we are conducting in March in Las Vegas. Woohoo! So you've taken the budget and fiscal management course, obviously. What tools specifically that you can think of that you were able to gain from that course that you were able to implement into your court?
Well, so this course has changed since my original course, and that's it's plugging the ICM as well. But it has changed. I took this originally back in 2005, and it was managing court financial resources and accounting. And it is involved into budget and fiscal management. Just like courts, we change.
Right.
So within our state, we have different funding authorities we answer to while being good stewards of public funds. And it gave me a personal understanding of the overview of an accounting principles and financial reporting.
Okay.
And how you tie that into also your vision and strategic planning and facilities management. Who knew that was a part of administration?
Right.
Right. And how to prepare and present and monitor a budget.
Okay.
Right. And I will definitely say I was not the expert in our budget. I'd have to give that to our court administrator. Shout out to her.
Yeah.
Our assistant court administrator, who's now assumed the role of the court administrator. But, doing internal reviews of your actual budget document, and then working with stakeholders and our justice partners. It was just really an in-depth overview of how you are responsible for finances.
And I agree. I've taken it recently. I've taken the budget and fiscal management, and I was surprised. And I don't know why I was surprised, because if you really sit down and think about it, of course, all of these responsibilities would be the same. They're in a building where they have to maintain the operations and the facility that they're in, and all of that comes into play. And they have to, make sure that they are compliant to everything they need to do, and making sure that they are utilizing the budget that they're given with a consciously using it and being proactive with that. And that reminds me of a little bit of the podcast that I did with Brandy Jingerson, our audit manager.
For the mass audits.
Right. About auditing and her plea to say, hey guys, if you need anything, just give us a call. And I'm sure that, you talk about the forms and looking at the forms and I'm sure that she'd be happy to take a look at a form. One of the courts needed a little bit of direction on that, on how to go with it. So absolutely, with the tools of budget and fiscal management. And I think that's really why we decided to have that at the beginning of the year, right?
Right, yeah. Right. So most courts, are generally 6 months into your fiscal year, you're starting to look ahead how to plan out your next fiscal budget.
Right.
And I believe the budgets are due in May to the state, to your local funding authority, and then that funding authority has to report it to the state before the next fiscal year. And it's always good to take it whenever it's available.
Sure.
But we were lucky enough to get it into the first part of this for 2024 with the hopes that it assists any of your new and upcoming management to really understand that part of the courts and the budgeting. And maybe they'll be able to help participate or have a better understanding for operations within their court at the time that your management team is going through the budget process.
Oh yeah, I think that course is so valuable, and just to understand the volume of work that has to be done just in the budget area for an individual court.
Oh yes,
is important to understand that. Was there a particular tool that you used from that budget and fiscal management course that you can think that you actually implemented right away and that was really successful?
I would just have to say, honestly, that it's always a work in progress and it's a continual review.
Okay.
Always.
Okay. All right. So as people are listening to this podcast, and I know we have some consistent Nevada judges who listen to it, and thank you, I appreciate that. If a judge or court administrator came to you and said, well, who do I send to the Institute of Court Management courses, what would you suggest?
You know, most courts will have like a strategic plan, and they also have a succession plan, right? Mm-hmm. But I think you need to really value your support staff and their growth and development. And this curriculum, it will give them the foundation and building blocks. So look internally of who you see as your future leadership and developing into your court management teams.
Okay.
And really support them and help develop their future as well.
Yeah.
And look ahead, and anybody will get value out of it. And tools, somebody will always take away something.
Right.
And be able to use it. Or, they can just start doing their own mind mapping of how it works, or they'll start to see how it relates into the bigger picture of the courts.
Okay.
But I think it is so... Empower your staff to develop and show that you want to support them.
Oh, I like that. I like the value. It gives them value, and as leaders of the individual courts to empower them. I think that's great.
And I'm going to do a shout out for you judges out there. Take some of these courses and understand what your management team and your administration, that side of it. Because if you can get on the same page and have those discussions and develop as well and understand more of the administration side and the layers behind it. Mm-hmm. One of the best classes I took, we had a snowstorm here in Nevada, and it got canceled, and we had it actually back when the AOC had, or excuse me, not the AOC, but the ICM had a division in Denver. And we went to Denver. There was 2 of us that went, and there was one team that came from Utah, and it was a smaller court, and they were fortunate enough to have both of their judges there.
Wow. And
by the end of that course, the judges were like, I had no idea. They really valued what administration went through, and our judges here in our state value it. But I think that if they build that relationship and actually do this as a management team, they will have some new insight as well.
Well, and then if they are capable, and of course they can't, shut down the court for this, but if they're capable to come and at least bring several people on their team, which is our hope, then they can be there together and have that reserved time to really collaborate.
Yeah.
And take these tools that they're learning in the ICM courses and go, well, like you said earlier, this I think we can do. Let's try this out. And to have that time with your team to really collaborate with them there is so, so valuable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As we take a short break for a commercial, I have a request for our audience. All Allow It Nevada isn't solely a certified legal education podcast. It's accessible to everyone. Our goal is to engage with communities and offer valuable perspectives on the Nevada judiciary. If you're enjoying these podcasts, please share the experience with your friends and family. Your support means a lot. Thank you. We also want to take a moment to remind you that registration for the in-person National Institute for Court Management course that's going to be hosted by the Nevada Supreme Court Administrative Office of the Courts, Budget and Fiscal Management, is March 12th through the 14th. Deadline to register is February 9th, which is coming up real quick. And just so you know, this is a national course, so the seats are open to neighboring states. So don't miss out. You need to secure your spot today as space is limited. Thank you. So Pete, I'm just curious if you can name a particular course or tool that you took away from any of these courses that helped you directly resolve a challenge you were experiencing at your court.
Sure. I'm going to go with a tool, and I'm going to go with the core tools that are offered through the ICM.
Okay.
And I would have to say measure 3, time to disposition. This tool helps you present the success of your court and how the performance is. And then it also associated with other measures. You get the value of all 10 measures, but this also will tie into measure 2, which is clearance rates, and also measure 4, which is age of active pending caseload. And it really opened up, and then it would tie back into our case flow management.
Oh, okay.
Like how we were processing cases.
Sure.
And why there was such a delay, and really diving into the effectiveness of what we were doing and what modifications maybe we needed to make for better outcomes.
Okay. So you could see the connection between the different courses, and they kind of flowed together.
Yeah. And for me, a lot of aha moments.
Right. And those which are great. Those are great. Okay. So was there a course or tool that you felt was exceptionally well received by your staff?
I would have to say that the core tool measures are a very successful tool, and they can tie into many of the CCM or CCE courses, whether you're trying to tie back and help with your budget preparation and justification before the funding authority, or just the internal operations of a court. And a couple examples would be reliability and integrity of a case file, going through and doing the survey of your cases. This can relay or help justify the insight and understanding of your court processes and maybe possibly training needs, or is it a performance issue as you're going through a case file and you're looking at your documentation and within that file, which is public record that you may be distributing to the public.
Okay.
And I'm going to say with the time to disposition, as you start to review those metrics, the delay sometimes in the outcome of a case isn't necessarily within the court system. It may be within one of your external stakeholders. It could be, let's use the example of getting lab results back. You may have a simple first-time DUI case, but the time before it appears in the court or on the docket for either a trial or sentencing is the delay of a lab result. And that isn't always necessarily within the control of the court, but it's a bottleneck that does affect the court. And until you dive into those metrics, you don't always necessarily know where your efficiencies need to be retooled or where you have to dial in deeper
to kind of figure out what the issues are. So it sounds like the core tools are helpful for the staff, but maybe in more of an indirect supportive way, and in a way of kind of reviewing different surveys that, you would do in order to streamline and make everything more efficient.
Yeah, and it really, and it helps your staff evaluate or understand more of what they do and how they do it, why it's so important for the outcome. It's not just necessarily, this is how we do it,
Right.
It's the process of how we do it and where it goes. how the stuff comes into the court and how it goes out, there's different metrics to evaluate your procedures and policies. It could be a policy change that needs to be replaced.
That makes complete sense. And it probably makes it a lot clearer to your staff, the why as well.
Absolutely. If you start with the why and they have the big picture, and sometimes sitting in a management role or a supervisory role or in the administration part of it, we know the ins and outs of court operations or case management, but not necessarily. You have to dive in and see where the bottlenecks are and get your staff's input as well, and where you may need to tweak.
And I hope that I provided them with the court's foundation and the purpose for everyone who entered our court and the value that they have representing the court that they work for.
Yeah. Did you see a change as you implemented this stuff? I mean, I would imagine you could probably see a change in the flow of your court.
I think when you provide staff with the support and the tools that they need and to understand a process and what the outcome is always going to be more successful. Yeah, absolutely. And you could definitely see that. So, Pete, we discussed earlier that we will be conducting another in-person national ICM course in Las Vegas as well at our training center. And that is September 17th through the 19th. And that course is going to be workforce management. So can you explain to us how you were able to utilize this course to help streamline the daily responsibilities of your court? Sure. This course provided some insight to me and the review of our core procedures and policies and how those relate to supporting case flow management activities that we do within our courts. You would analyze maybe the effectiveness of our current case flow management and what type of practices, or maybe it's policies. We do it because that's an established policy, and maybe those need to be reviewed.
Okay.
But definitely a takeaway was to go back and review what you're doing. And then maybe you don't need change, right? Right. But also maybe just there's one avenue that just needs to be rethought out. And maybe you need to pull in some of your stakeholders to see is within the courts, it relates back to, is that how we do things? And always it's an opportunity to make change for a better outcome.
Right. To be able to serve the public more effectively and efficiently.
Right. And then it also ties into performance management and development. Look how you set up your succession planning. Again, relates back to succession planning, or your strategic planning, and then developing and supporting the growth of your future management team. I mean, this will always be a bottom line in there. Right. With any one of these courses offered.
Yeah. So this workflow management is going to be a really essential course to have to get some basic tools on succession planning and just basically staff development.
Definitely. And as a strong advocate for the ICM curricula, every course, experience, or networking relationship built has assisted me in my development, and it will with any court leader that I have referred to the courses. Those networks were a part of my foundation in my development role as a supervisor, as a manager, and as I ended my career with Sparks Justice Court as a court administrator. Yeah, it's a phenomenal program. Now, I know that, they suggest you not take these courses one right after another, that you take a course and then take some time to take what you've learned and take it back to your court to try and implement some of the things that you learned and make some changes, which it's great. I think that's a great way to plan that out. And that's really why we're kind of spreading the two courses out over 2024. And we'll be hoping to continue to support National Institute for Court Management in 2025 and further on. But of course, we need our
Nevada courts to jump on board and get some people registered, because we do have a minimum number that we have to meet in order for these courses to actually happen. And that is 33 people. And the majority of them, because it is going to take place in Las Vegas, Nevada, the majority of those attendees are going to probably be from Nevada. So this is a call out for help to our Nevada courts to judges, get yourselves registered for these courses, and please make sure your staff is registered so that we can continue to do that. That's how we get your support in providing these trainings.
Yeah, and I'll have to do a shout out to you judges in Nevada. Please, when you have staff members come back for an ICM course, have them share what they got out of it, and give them a task of maybe how they can implement something or a project, and really support them. Absolutely.
It's important to share all of that. And again, collaborate, right?
Absolutely.
Collaborate with your team. So really my final question for you is, did you feel that the workforce management course gave you the tools to grow as a more effective manager?
Definitely. I felt that it was I'll tie it back into a building block of the knowledge that I gained that was outside of my court, and the support for the networking. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, before we close down here, is there anything particular that we haven't covered that you would like to share, or do you feel like we covered it all?
I'm hoping we were able to cover it and we gave some insight, and I really appreciate you having me here today. And I'm available through the AOC if you have any questions, or I look forward to seeing who our new faces will be in March and in September. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. It'll be awesome. Well, Pete, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us, your tips on how to implement Institute for Court Management courses directly into your courts. I hope that the judges find this helpful. I hope your court admins find it helpful. I'm going down the list. I really hope all the court clerks who are listening to this find it helpful. AOC staff, and even our lawyers out there, our attorneys out there in Nevada. I hope that as you listen to this podcast, it helps you gain a little bit more insight into how the kind of back office works in a court system. Again, Pete Whitehead was our guest today, and we can't thank her enough for being here. Sign up for those courses. I'm going to go through the whole registration again here, and you can meet her in person because she will be there in March. I want to shout out a big thank you to everyone tuning into this podcast. A couple quick reminders. For continuing legal education, please complete a certificate of attendance and email that to jepodcast@nvcourts.nv.gov. Again, that's jepodcast@nvcourts.nv.gov. Any questions, topic suggestions, or comments, you can also use that same email and send that to jepodcast@nvcourts.nv.gov. We're always eager to hear from our listeners. So the National Center for State Court Institute for Court Management Course 2024 in-person schedule in Las Vegas, hosted by the Nevada Supreme Court Administrative Office of the Courts, is as follows. March 12th through the 14th of 24 is Budget and Fiscal Management. The deadline is coming up, guys. It's February 9th. Please get in there and register. And who doesn't want to come to Las Vegas in March? And then September 17th through the 19th, 2024, we've got Workforce Management. Registration deadline for that is August 16th. Again, that's in Las Vegas. All the information is going to be either on the National Center for State Courts Institute for Court Management website, or you can reach out to jepodcast@nvcourts.nv.gov. and we can shoot you the link, the registration link, and the website to get all the information you need through them. Stay tuned for more episodes of I'll Allow It Nevada, released every first and third Friday of the month. This is Anne Marie Mayu signing off. Take care, Nevada.